Let us start here. So let us start with MiniKube, right? Also, last time, let me go and start my screen here. Also, so what I have decided is we are having so many issues with the installation part, right? And one of the requests which one of our members made is, not one of our members, many members made it that, sir, this Kubernetes thing, using MiniKube on Windows, right? Please try to do it from scratch. So for example, I come with a virtual machine ready, it is working, and the in detail steps are not known, right? So what I decided is, today I will go ahead, I will configure MiniKube, right? It will take today and tomorrow because I'm going to go and start from scratch. I'm going to go and create a virtual machine on Azure, and I will go and do the things on Azure only. Now, if you have a local machine, more than welcome, right? But now what is happening, the current trend is that people just create a virtual machine. It takes 20 rupees, 30 rupees hourly, right? Do the work and finish it out. So I'm going to use Azure, right? So let us do first demo MiniKube on Windows using, and let us try to demonstrate, Kubernetes, right? With a simple uh, network. Okay. I hope that if today someone has come in new, then please you have to go and see all the videos at the back, right? Okay, so I'm going to go and create a virtual machine. Now, a couple of things out here. Whenever we are doing this Kubernetes or whenever we are doing this Docker and all these things, right? The first thing is that your virtual machine should be Hyper-V enabled. It should be, virtualization should be enabled, right? Now, one of the things, the problem is that when I go and try to create a virtual machine, which happened last time, right? So when we create a virtual machine out here, we need to know really that, for example, if I select Windows, example, I select the recent one, let us say, to not take any risk, I select the recent one. If I'm selecting even the recent one, right, it is not about that money part, right? It is about that series, whatever it is, D2, D3, D4 series, should have virtualization enabled. If it is not enabled, then what happens is everything fails, right? So what I did is I went to Microsoft, a lot of links out here, okay, but so what I did is so this is the first URL. I'll just post it from the top, right? So a link of which VMs of Azure have virtualization enabled, right? Right. So if you see, and virtualization, and that also nested virtualization, right? It should be nested means what? See, the Azure VMs themselves are VMs. So that means that now the outside host inside which the VM is created, that also should go and enable the virtualization for the inside VM. So that's why whatever VMs you access, right, you don't get a direct machine until you are taking a very, very higher version or dedicated version, right? So most of the time you'll end up with a virtual machine. So what Microsoft says is that if you want to go and enable virtualization, then it should be nested virtualization, right? So this, I found out from Microsoft here. And when I read this, let us see that which versions are having nested virtualization, right? So when I go out here, I can see that choose either generation 2 image or generation 1, fine. And select the series that, for example, DV3 or DV4, right? So DV3 and DV4, let me see DV4. This DV4 supports virtualization, okay? So I'll just virtualization, right? So I can see that the DV4, right? The standard DV4 nested virtualization is supported, right? So what we'll do is we'll take a standard DV4 like this V4 machine, and let us see, even the DSV V4 is also so. Okay, DV4 or DSV V4, right? So any one of them we take, right? So let us go ahead. So that's the first thing, I wanted to check because we were selecting it randomly and it does not work out, right? So let us say select all sizes. So DSV v4. This is what it is. DSV v4. Let me see. DV4. So all this looks to be that they should be supporting it, right? So I'm going to go and take it. So this DSP v4, all this SSS out here. So I'm going to take this one, right? Because I can take this one also, right? A little bit higher version, right? So I'm selecting DSV4 as is written out here. A DSV4 machine, DSV4 series. Okay. Yeah, that's my first mistake, which I did. Okay, don't worry about 47,000 per month. It will just be something 30-40 rupees, right? I just selected a good one. Let me create a resource out here. So guys, what I'm doing is the first thing is I'm just making sure that I have selected a virtual machine which is having proper this one. Second, you can see that I've taken the 2022 edition. The 2019 edition. Now, okay, if you see, what are we planning, right? Here it is. Let me just show you what is in my mind, right? Then we'll create the VM. Guys, this demo will be big, little bit big, but it will give you a very bright insight of how the Linux subsystem of Windows works, right? So our plan is we have MiniKube. Remember last time what was happening? MiniKube, actually what it does, it helps you to create a Kubernetes cluster, a single cluster, single node. Okay. Now, this Kubernetes out here, if it is running on Windows, right, it needs a Linux subsystem. It needs some virtualization inside which he can run his nodes. So it needs some kind of either a Hyper-V or either it will need a WSL where it will go and create its node. And so now what is Hyper-V? Hyper-V is it's belonging to it's a Windows virtualization thing, right? And WSL, what it is WSL is nothing but, where you can run Linux inside Windows, right? Because you can see now we have a lot of dependency on Docker, and Docker is completely built using Linux, right? So if you're running anything inside Windows of Docker, it would be safe, to just use WSL. See, one is that you can just use Linux, but I'm avoiding it. Why? Because we are going through the Windows subsystem. This course is dedicated to running Kubernetes and Docker on Windows, right? On Linux, it is very easy. Okay. But for now, I'm just sticking to this because many of our audience are related to Windows, right? So there are two options for us. Either we have Hyper-V or either we use WSL, right? And for all of this, right, you need to have virtualization enabled, right? Or else this is not working out, right? So what I'm planning is this Kubernetes, I will run my Docker. So basically what I'll do is in my Docker, there will be a container which will be in WSL, and the Kubernetes will, the MiniKube will get deployed into this WSL, right? So we need to ensure that we enable WSL on our Windows, right? It is nothing but it is a subsystem layer of Windows which interacts with Linux, right? So quite a complicated demo. Let us see it works or not. So there it is, VM123, and let me put some password out here, right? So I'm just doing it from scratch. So please have patience. Okay. And Questpoint support, what you can do is that for Kubernetes, after that first lecture, you can put this as a second lecture. All the other lectures have failed. Okay, I'm paying a big price, 64 rupees for learning. It's okay, right? Great. So there it is. We have selected a machine, which is a DSV4. It should support virtualization and so on. Okay, great. Okay. Now what? First step one. I'm going to go and put down step one here. Step one is that I think first thing what we should check is we should check if the virtualization is enabled or not, or else we have a problem, right? So I have this. So check virtualization is enabled or not, or else it's a problem, Then again, we are going in a loop. It does not make sense, right? So first, let us check that. There are multiple ways of checking. What you can do is that you can try to install Hyper-V. If you get a message saying there is no virtualization enabled, then it is gone, right? Once that is done, right, then we go ahead and we enable Hyper-V, right? So this, let us say step one, okay, where you are checking if you're going through Azure, if not going through Azure, then you need to go and check straightforward check step 2. Okay. Step 2, you will check that if the Intel virtualization is there. If it is there, right, if the BIOS is having virtualization enabled. Step 3, what you will do is you will try to enable virtualization, enable the Hyper-V. Now this Hyper-V, you can go ahead and you can enable through the install features, or what you can do is you can run this PowerShell command also, right? So anything is okay. Okay. So let us go ahead. Let us see our virtual machine is enabled or not. So there it is. It is there. Slow, guys. We have to go very slow. And remember again, disclaimers. It can happen that till 10 o'clock, everything is red and blue out here, or everything is green, right? Oh, man. Right. Okay. There it is. And you know what? I just want to put that Chrome thing in because I just don't even like Edge for some reason. It does not give me that confidence, right? When I'm running something like Chrome, like smooth it is. So there it is. My machine is starting. To check virtualization is enabled or not, there are a couple of ways to do it. Let me see. So I'm going to go and paste it out here. There is our machine. If you have any questions, please put it, right? I'm trying to run MiniKube on Windows Server, right? And it will actually go and create a single node, a single cluster. And the node will be created inside Docker. And Docker will use the WSL or even like Hyper-V, right, to run the things, right? Now, one of the ways we can check, not sure, we can check, if really our virtualization is enabled or not. What happened is by the task manager. In the task manager, yeah. Over here, I don't see that virtualization. What the hell, man? This is where we should see. So sad it is, man. What happened? I selected the right VM, isn't it? So I'll just go to this link out here. I think this checks at the BIOS level, so I'm not sure really. Let me too much off. So yeah, that's one way of checking it. But what I will do is, let me not do this thing. Let me use this nice PowerShell command out here. So it will go and it will tell me that if Hyper-V is enabled or not. What I can also do is, as a safety, I can go and I can enable Hyper-V, isn't it? Let me do the second step. So if that fails also, it will tell me. So now if you want to do it right, what you can do is you can either go to the install like this. You can actually say to your control panel. And from here also, you can go ahead and you can turn on the features, right? Let us see from here, what does it show? Because if I click on this, if I say add features, and if my BIOS is not enabled, it should not allow me to do it. Choksma. What? That's not good. This is so sad. Okay. But actually this, okay, let me do like this. Okay. That's sad. It's like, and you can see that. Let me do like this. Let me go ahead. Yeah, there is some issue in that virtualization out there. But let me do like this. Let me enable this through the PowerShell, right? Let us see what happens. It will ask for a restart. How about the other ways of checking it? Let us see. So what I'm doing now, that enable is not happening through the, see now here, actually there is no BIOS, right? One of the things, which I'm really confused is, either I should do this demo on my hardware, on my local hardware, but my local hardware does not support it. If he's saying that I will check the BIOS, but you can't check the BIOS, right? Because you have a box. Inside the box, there is a Azure VM, right? Where I'm accessing. So definitely, if I say that, do you have virtualization enabled like this? It will not say anything, right? So you can see here, it has said that it had checked in this. Let us see. I'll just restart this. And let us see that if I checked in the Hyper-V thing, right? So I'm restarting it. That's not a good sign, but let us see. Okay, it takes some time for restart. So what I've done is I've fired the second command. This first one did not pass, but I still moved ahead with the second one. Let us see. I've enabled Windows feature through the PowerShell. Okay, I've enabled Windows feature through the PowerShell. Okay. If this does not work, guys, I'm not doing this demo next time. I'll just use Ux and show the demo tomorrow. Right. I give it up. Somebody else can try it because we have wasted too much time after this. Actually, you know what? Like in one of our clients, he wanted MiniKube in his local. So I had installed it. I remember it. That's why I'm pretty confident that I can do it. But I don't know. This Azure VM is where I'm doing a mistake. I feel I'm taking Azure VM and it is not there. Fine. So let us see now. Let us go to the control features. Has it enabled? And today, why I'm showing this now, guys, like so that you understand it, that where I'm getting stuck. Because what happens is I come with a ready-made VM and then you say that, what did you configure, right? So let me go there now. Let us see. Because I've used PowerShell, he should have enabled it. Yeah, you can see he has enabled it, but I don't know what he has enabled it, right? So let us see. There is a risk now in this lab that probably this is not enabled virtualized, right? The second thing, what we want to also do is we want to install the Hyper-V admin, the Hyper-V UI, by which we can go and see our Hyper-V, right? So what I'll do is the next thing which I want to fire is, I want to fire these tools. So this one is step 4, where I'm saying that install the Hyper-V tools, right? Install Hyper-V tools. Guys, I'm not documenting it. It's Hyper-V tools, right? So let me go again, PowerShell. Let me fire it. Okay. Run this out here. So that installs our Hyper-V tools. You can go and again install it through the standard features. So you can go ahead and select Hyper-V. But now, if you remember, when I was selecting it, it was not allowing me to do that. So I've done it through PowerShell. PowerShell did not give me any errors. It is checked, right? So there it is now. So with this, what will happen is I will have Hyper-V manager, right? So I have a Hyper-V manager and I have my tools by which I can peek and sneak into my Hyper-V manager, right? So I can see things from here. Good. So my tools are also installed. Great. I would like to just do a restart, just these tools. I don't know what they install. I'll just make a restart once. Okay. Restart. Fine. Step 5, what I would like to do is I would like to enable the WSL. The WSL stands for the Windows subsystem for Linux, right? So I'll go to the add features and I will enable WSL. Okay. So this is how will you do it? We'll go to the control panel and install features, right? See, last time, guys, you must be saying, sir, why are you doing so much, right? If you remember, last time we ran Docker on Windows. We never ran Docker using Linux. Please understand it. Now what happens is, now MiniKube and all the other Kubernetes clusters what we have, right? They said we need Linux. So you are on a Windows server And the only friend of who can save you is WSL. So if you are going to go and say Windows Docker, it's not going to work out. So your Docker should be running on Linux. Then only MiniKube or any other cube, can start using that thing, right? Okay. Or else go at just Linux, or else just go and use Linux, right? That's the best way. Okay. So I can see a question here saying, sir, we should do it on Linux. Yeah, it must be in the next class. Let me do it now. Okay. So I've just restarted it because I don't know the Hyper-V tools, what they do. I'm not sure, right? Don't want to take any risk. Good. Also, what I'll do is I'll just install Chrome on this machine so that, right. Okay, the next thing is, as we said, we will install WSL, right? We'll configure WSL. So I'll go and say turn Windows feature on off, right? I'll say next, next, next. So somewhere we should see WSL. Okay, my Chrome is also running. Happy. Where is it? Windows subsystem for Linux. It should be somewhere here. www. There it is. So let us do this. Allows you to run native user mode Linux shell and tools on Windows. I want it. Right. We'll restart it. Right. So this is the next thing. Okay. So WSL, Windows subsystem for Linux. Right. At the same time, what we'll do is we'll just download our Docker and all things, and MiniKube. Right. So we are all ready. I'll first configure Docker. Let me not rush. Okay. Right. So in short, now we want to run Docker Windows on, I want to run Linux. Till now, we are not ran on Linux, right? So in order the MiniKube should work, we would like to run on Linux, right? Okay, it is installed. This Chrome has started copying. First, it used to come down, right? I liked it. It's coming up. So we'll not run this. We'll run it afterwards, right? Let it be there. Okay, there it is. This is configuring, and what we'll do is we'll do a restart. Okay, it looks like it is a restart is pending. Okay, a restart is pending on this machine. Why not? Let me restart. So I downloaded Docker, not installed it, restarted, right? So what have we done till now? Let's see. Steps. I'm writing down steps out here. So we have enabled WSL and so on, right? Now, this is to disable the Windows feature. I'll just put it here just in case if you want to disable it, right? Right. We are not going to use Oracle VM or something. Leave it, not going to do that, right? Also, guys, I found this nice document out here, which was put by some education site. Okay. And I like this document. It is pretty much written by someone who has tried to do things, right? Now, in this, so once we have the WSL, let me go back again. So it is done. Let me go back. So once we have the WSL, please have patience. I know that too many configurations out here. So we started just going through the same RDP. Right. Okay, so here it is. That BIOS thing is something is disturbing me, but I'm moving ahead, right? Because we have to continue with the class, isn't it? But the BIOS thing is not looking good for me. Okay. Now everything is good. So what I'll do is let me go and check if the WSL is there or not. So let me go here and just check. Make this fonts bigger. That is our Linux subsystem there or not, right? So WSL, this is the command. So it says that nothing has been installed now for Linux. That is right. We have to install something, Debian or Ubuntu or something right out here. I think this is a command to get the list. Has no list. Hang on. So let's get the command of, okay, before that, let's not rush. If you rush, it's a problem. Okay. This document is good. I'll just paste some of the things from this document. So what it has done is, one is that installing WSL1 by enabling WSL feature. We have installed the WSL feature, right? But what I will do is I will just go ahead and install by using the DISM tool also, right? So what I'll do is, one is that I have installed it through here, but I will also enable this by the DISM tool so that, to make sure that my WSL is there, right? So I want to just go and check this. So this DISM is a tool which enables certain features which are related to OS, right? So I can see that operation successfully done. Looks like it has enabled Linux, right? So I'm happy, right? So that is one step. The second thing, let me follow this from this document. I'm taking some things. Yeah, let me check this also. Virtual machine features. So step 4, enable virtual machine features. This will also help me to just check that if my virtual machine, you remember that BIOS, it was showing error, right? So I can double check, by this command. So I'll just do that, If this is all good, then our virtualization is also working. So looking good till now, right? Fine. Okay, so we have a Windows Server machine. We have got one error of that virtualization BIOS. I don't know what to do about it, but I went ahead to the PowerShell. I installed Hyper-V. I enabled Hyper-V. I installed Hyper-V tools. Then I went ahead and I enabled the WSL. I fired the DISM command to just make sure that all my Linux subsystem is up and running, right? So this is good out here, right? Now the next thing is, we need to go and install install some Linux subsystem like Debian or this, right? But before that, this is one thing, which you need to install, this package of x64, right? So I'm going to go and copy this. I can see lots of questions out there, guys. I'll come there, I'm writing down the steps out here. Step 4, step 5. This is one package, which we need to install. It is nothing but, the WSL, what you have installed at this moment, right? By checking it, there is a small update given by them. So this update needs to be installed. So I'm going to go and install this update. And this update, just to quickly, if your WSL is not configured, then you will get such kind of a warning. So at this moment, we have configured the WSL, right? If your WSL is not configured, you will get this warning. If your WSL is not configured, then you will get this nice screen and you can say next, and finish it. So this setup will also help us to just check that our WSL has been configured or not, right? Control V, I'll just download it. Right. Yeah, so you can see we did not get that warning, which is good. Okay, so that's a small patch which I've installed, which is needed, right? Now, what we can do is we can go ahead and we can start checking. So you can see here, he's saying that go and set this WSL to version 2. We can do that. But before that, I want to go and install something, install Linux or install Debian, right? Without that, it's not moving ahead, right? So here is this link, right? So too many links out there. Cryptic installation. This is actually, I took help of my developer, so see, one is what you can do is you can take PowerShell command and you can download the Ubuntu exe like this. You can see, right? Enable this, download Ubuntu, which I'm not interested at this moment, right? I would like to use this one. So let us go and see online that what distros are given. Distros means what kind of versions of Linux are given, right? What distributions are given. So I'm going to go online out here and let us see what do we have. So let us try to install Ubuntu. Okay. ws hyphen hyphen install hyphen d Ubuntu. Okay. So let us see. Let me run this in admin mode just to be sure. Right. Always run in admin mode, elevated mode. Yeah. So those were the things. We will say Ubuntu U capital. So ws this command. Right. And I will say here Ubuntu. Hmm. If this does not work, it's a problem then. Let us see. Hmm. Ah, okay. Right. So you can see now, uh, my the WSL system, should be installing this. There is some error out here. So let us use the other approach. That's fine. The other approach is that we go and do PowerShell. You can see here in the PowerShell, is going out here to this path, right? So must be we can just download from here Ubuntu, isn't it? Now we have to do it manually. Sad day. Fine. Let me do it today. I also want to know that how far this goes. Okay, so there it is. But you know what? This one, what he has done out here, he has renamed this to zip, okay, and then unzipped it. Okay, fine. So tick tick. Come on. Wait, wait, wait. So let us do that. Rename. Okay, I think it's a zip file. They have done that automation through the PowerShell, but yeah, like we can just do it manually, isn't it? So there it is. Ubuntu setup is here. Okay, so it did not work from here. Let us do it from here. More info, run it anyway, don't worry. Oh gosh. So you can see now we are stuck out here, guys, where the virtual machine cannot be started because a required feature is not installed. So that means that this virtual machine doesn't look like that Hyper-V is properly enabled out here. That is the main reason, right? So it is not working. But I will do like this. Let me do now one more thing. What I'll do is I'll fall back to Docker. Let us see if Docker does it, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Docker installer now, because now what Docker should do, I have WSL configured, isn't it? Fine. I'm not able to install the Windows subsystem. So let me try to do the last thing. Let me see that if Docker can do it, right? So I'm going to go and run Docker. Now, what my expectation is, Docker has that small checkbox saying that, shall I go and configure WSL, right? So let me run this and let me see if I can use that. So guys, looks like that virtualization is a problem. Okay, but let me today, guys, let me just show you all the steps. We will not do this demo again. We'll just go back to, we'll just, in the tomorrow's class, we'll just go back to Azure. So there it is. Now, I'm saying him that don't use Hyper-V, try to use WSL2. Okay. Let us see if he configures it. I'm going to say, okay. Because one of the documentation I've read is that Docker, what it does is it actually tries to configure WSL2, right? So if it does it, it is good. If not, then we have a problem. Second, some of the things about this command out here. For example, if you just say ws-install, it will take Ubuntu by default. If I just say ws-install, it will just take Ubuntu by default. Okay. Or else you can give us some other thing. Can I try something like Debian? Must be. Okay. Leave it. It's a problem. Right. So let us see now. Also, let me download MiniKube. I did this demo previously in previous class. I don't know what happened now. Let's download the latest release. Now I don't want to run MiniKube now because until this Docker is not configured, it does, because see what this MiniKube will do. This MiniKube will use the Docker, to host its node. So if Docker is not going to work, MiniKube is not going to work. It's going to fail, right? And if you remember last time, uh, the MiniKube, right? It was trying to use Hyper-V, and when it was trying to use Hyper-V, something was happening, right? So what we are planning now is we are planning that okay, inside the Docker, we will have our VM, right, or our instance, right, and the MiniKube will try to create inside that, right? So let's run this afterwards because this has to be configured first. Okay. If today the demo does not work, I will close this one, the MiniKube thing. I will close it here only, saying that the MiniKube demo did not work, right? And these were the things, right? So you must be log out of the complete installation. So what I'll do is I'll not log out, I'll restart, because I don't know the signing out will work or not. Let me not take any risk. Let me restart the machine. Because I've seen a lot of time I just sign out, and so let me not sign out. Let me restart it. Okay, let me put down the steps here. So what we have done, we have installed this update, and after this update, what I've done is step 6. I tried to say WSL -install, right? First, I went online and I tried to fetch the details, right? So this is a Stack Overflow link, just in case, how to install on server Linux subsystem. So here we went, we said -install -d, and we were trying to install Ubuntu. We got an error. Then what we decided, we directly went to the link now, or the second way is we directly went to the link and we unzipped that file of Ubuntu, right? And we were trying to install. That again was a problem, right? And all the links are here over here, right? Now what we did also is now we are falling back to Docker, right? Step 7. See, remember, actually what this step failed, where I have lost confidence actually completely. This one, it has failed. Okay, this is where check virtualization is enabled or not. Remember, this is the link down below. So but now I need to at least let me walk you through the steps, right? So step 7, we are installing Docker, and we'll try to run Docker in a Linux mode. Why Linux? Because now we have WSL, right? So we don't want to run now in a Windows mode. Okay. So there it is. I accept. Let us see. You can see now that's a nice error. Look at it. Try to understand the error, right? It's okay. Like our WSL is not configured. We have to figure out how to configure it, right? But try to at least understand the error. Unexpected error occurred while executing this. Please try WSL. It is not configured. Something is wrong with WSL. Why? Because by default, what happens is, this guy tries to run on Linux, isn't it? And now he cannot run on Linux because your subsystem is not working, right? So let me go to Windows container. Let us see if my Windows container works. Because for Windows container, it does not need a Linux subsystem, right? For Windows container, he can go to Hyper-V. Inside that, he can go and do the Linux one. So let us see that. So I'm just switching it. Let me restart from here. Man, too many bad configurations. Huh? So, let me switch. What happened? Right. So what I want is, right. So I want to start, but I want him to start in a, you can see now, okay, somehow I ran in the Windows mode. Now you can see here, it is running properly. Windows container not enabled. Why? Hang on. Now it should run. Hang on. I'm just. Quit. Kill that guy. Oh, what are so many Docker desktop doing out here? That's why it was giving those errors. Hmm. Right. So now this is running in the Windows mode. Please understand it. Now currently we don't have any containers, right? And what my expectation is, I should see, you can see it is saying that I will use WSL2 as an engine rather than Hyper-V. You can see this small checkbox out here, which it is saying. So, okay, I can't. So you can see a WSL2 and it is saying that it has better performance at Hyper-V. Fine. So, looks like these errors are not good. They are all complaining about WSL. Okay. So you can see now at this moment, what is happening is I'm able to run this on Windows. Why? Because Windows does not need WSL as such, right? So even if it is not doing, it will fall back to Hyper-V. Okay. But I will do like this now. Think about it. If Docker desktop is stopped, can I restart? Okay. But let us think about this like this. Let us say that our WSL was properly done. Everything was properly working. Then you know what? You can go and you can install MiniKube. Okay. So where is it? In the downloads, right? So I'll just install the MiniKube installer. Let me write down the notes out here. So just in case if somebody will practice, please, I would suggest that someone should practice this out. Somewhere I'm making a mistake, right? So I did this Docker. I should run it on Linux. I should run with WSL, definitely. And step 8, I should then run MiniKube, right? And before I run MiniKube, right, I should just make sure that MiniKube should use the Docker instance to create things, not Hyper-V. Okay, so we'll see that also. So there it is. Setup installed successfully. MiniKube is there, right? And Docker is also there, but it is not running on Linux. So definitely there is a problem. I'm telling you again. Our second step failed actually, guys. I thought that it is DV3 supporting Hyper-V, but I was wrong, So the second step failed, and after that, still I carried forward it, but looks like I've done a mistake. But let us actually run through the steps. Now, so here's a MiniKube. So now we'll go and create our network. Okay. No problem. At least let us run through the steps. So I'm going to go here and command line. And I will say, let's go to where the MiniKube is. And we say MiniKube start. And I'm not confident it will actually go and create a network, but here it is. You can see some of the errors right at the start. You can see now what he's doing. He has downloaded some images of K8. Okay, these are the dummy images, and these images he will try to put inside Docker. Please understand it. Okay, but you can see now he has fallen back to Hyper-V. Look at it. He has fallen back to Hyper-V, which you don't want, right? But let us start from the top. What is the issue here, right? The issue is that he's saying that I'm unable to resolve the current Docker CLI context. So what he's saying is that I'm trying to use your Docker context. I'm trying to use your Docker to create my cluster and node. I'm not finding it. You can see this. Unable to resolve to default. He's saying that I'm trying to find a default. I'm not finding it. And because I'm not finding it, what I'm doing is I'm falling back to Hyper-V, right? And he falls back to Hyper-V and nothing happens, right? So now this MiniKube, when you run, right, and when you have error, something must have happened bad, right? So I'll just say MiniKube delete, right? And just so that everything is clean, right? removed all traces. Now, so first thing is he should be able to find the Docker context. So we'll check out that what is the Docker context currently. Docker context, what is the command? Let us see, right? So just again, I'm iterating. MiniKube actually goes and creates a node, a cluster node, right? A single cluster, single node. Now that single node we want to create inside the Docker container. So we want it to be creating, it should get created out here, right? For that, definitely the prerequisite was, so basically over, oh, this engine stopped. No. This one, try to restart it. So basically what we want is inside that container, that images which he just downloaded, these images, what he has just downloaded, these images we want to go and create it, this MiniKube K8 images, we want to go and load it inside that Docker, right? So what is first thing is happening is that he's saying that, see the Docker default context, I'm not finding it. So because I'm not finding it, nothing is there, right? So I'm expecting him over here to do things. Now, you know what? The Docker desktop is running, but definitely there's a very nasty error out here because nothing is good now, right? In this machine. So this is something out here. And if I say quit, it just quits, right? I'll just keep this box running out here. My God, let it run out here because I can see that my Docker is running. I don't know on the air. Let it run. Fine. So let us go and see what is the context of Docker. Let us see that. So Docker context. I don't know what the syntax was. Docker context show. Okay. Context show. It is default. So why is he complaining? I'll just update that context to default. I don't know. Must be it is. Okay, let me do it here. So I'll just update that context to default. It is in default, guys. It is in default. But I don't know why. Let me read that error. Unable to resolve the current Docker CLI context to default. Context not found. Okay. So okay, let me clear this. So I'll say here. So the command is, let me take the help. Okay. Docker context show it was, isn't it? And Docker context, and he said update, isn't it? Update to default. What happened? What is that command? Okay. Sorry. Let the help come up. Docker context update. Or Docker context use. We can use. So Docker context use default. It is using default. I don't know why is he complaining, but I've just, okay. It was default. I said default. Fine. Just let me now see. Let me go and run MiniKube. Okay. Now, at least I should not get that error. Okay, good. So that first error, I'm not getting that. But what the bad thing is, he just went to Hyper-V. So he did not give me any context thing. I don't know he has selected or not. He went to Hyper-V. But let's see now. Now that we have fallen back to Hyper-V, he's saying that a valid vSwitch must be available to run this command, right? So he's looking for a vSwitch. Okay. It's not going well. Okay. So let me do that. If that's what he's asking for, I can create a virtual switch. What is virtual switch? This virtual switch is nothing but it is a switch between the Hyper-V and the virtual machine and the outside machine, right? So I'll say create a virtual switch. Let us see. I'll say apply. Now remember that, this may disrupt the connectivity because, so must be my MSTSC can freeze. So yeah, you can see now I can't do anything. You give it some time. So what I've done is I have put up a virtual switch out there because probably when he wants to create something, right, he is asking for a switch so that he can communicate to the outside host also, right? So there it is. You can see because I've done some changes. So let us go back again, RDP. So I have a virtual switch now. Guys, if this does not work, this is the last demo of MiniKube. I'm giving it up, right? But I'll keep this video as a sovereign for me that my MiniKube demo never worked. It worked. Remember, there's a last video where it worked. The last lecture it worked. I don't know. And what in the afternoon it worked. I select the same DB3. I don't know if I've selected something else now. The same machine I've selected. I know. So, and I have come practiced. You can see that I know each and every error. So I've come practiced, but then something goes bad out there, right? But let us try to complete at least this much. So now I'll do a MiniKube delete because previously I don't know what it has done. Now let me try again. I've created the virtual switch, so I'm expecting that the virtual switch error should go off. Let us see. But you know what he will say now? He will not give the virtual switch error, but he will say me that your Hyper-V is not configured. And because MiniKube needs Linux, he needs a proper Linux container to do things, right? Yeah. So you can see that the virtual switch error has gone off. But definitely what he's saying is that failed to start MiniKube. Let me see. Let us read this. I love these errors. All my demos are errors. And you keep fixing it, it will finally go to success. But what it is, please try running. Just said fail to start Hyper-VM. Right, understood. And you know what? I don't want him to use Hyper-V. I want him to use Docker. And my Docker is at this moment on Windows. So it starts falling to Hyper-V and nothing works, right? If this was successful, right, then what would have happened is I could have gone ahead and I would have said, MiniKube, run the dashboard. Then I can say, get me the nodes, get me the pods, getting it? Go and deploy this image into this node, right? So these commands we could have fired, but now the MiniKube is not working. It is sad, right? Okay, so I'll do like this, after this demo also, I'll try to just check if I can fix this. If not, right? But this is what it is for MiniKube. The MiniKube thing, stops here, right? So guys, I'll just run through what I've done, right? And must be you can try also. First thing is, well, must be my choice here is wrong that I'm choosing Azure for MiniKube at least, right? Because these Azure VMs, they themselves are VMs. So I don't know how the virtualization can work, right? So that's why, but they have said that they have nested virtualization. I went ahead, I selected that, right? After that, I said that, okay, let us check my virtualization is enabled or not, which was not, it was a failure, but still I went ahead. But if let us say the virtualization was good, then what you would have done is you would have gone ahead and you have enabled the Hyper-V. Remember, he still needs a Hyper-V. Please understand. He still needs a Hyper-V for the WSL. Okay. I installed the Hyper-V tools all through the commandlet of PowerShell. Then I enabled WSL. So basically, I went to that install feature. I said I want WSL to be enabled. After that, I ran these DISM commands to just check that my virtual machines are proper or not. And you know what? Actually, these DISM commands are also not safe. I mean, these guys gave me everything successful, right? But internally, it does not look like. And then we have to run this patch also of the WSL, right? After that, you should be able to install Ubuntu either through WSL. If not through WSL works, you can use a direct link. But none of them work for us. Why? Because our main virtualization was not there. I feel so. Huh? And that's it. Once it is done, you will run your Docker, you will run in Linux. You will say MiniKube start and it should work. It should create a MiniKube inside. Let me just show you. Let me show you my past video so that teachable. Okay. I'll come to doubts, guys. Give me 2 minutes. Let me just finish this off. This MiniKube is really, and you know what? We shouldn't be learning in MiniKube, but I want to still cover it. So I'll just show you where. This is one of the old videos, and I had done the same kind of a demo. It worked at that time. Must be after that. So it was 20 Kubernetes using MiniKube, right? Please go and see this day 20. What video it is? If you remember. Okay, in this, right? Look at this. I'll just make this thing. And you know what? I came from here actually. So look at this. Look at this screen. In this screen, you can see very clearly when he says MiniKube start, right? And if it uses the Docker context, it will create all these things inside this container out here, which is not happening for us now. Okay, I'm just trying to make sense like where it is, right? So which is happening out here, and I don't know what things I've done right out there, right? This was 20, isn't it? 20. So that means that it was 19 where I must have configured, because in 20, the MiniKube is already configured, right? So this 19 is where I must have configured. Yeah, this looks to me I have. So very quickly. So guys, you can watch the 19 and 20 videos. You can just go and watch the 19 and 20 videos where, you know, the inside the Docker, the MiniKube has actually created things, right? So there is the overall step. Let me go back to questions. I know that the demo was not good, right? Okay. I started me a VM multiple times, right? Why WSL is required? So very quickly, guys, as I've said, WSL, what it does is it's a Windows subsystem for Linux. So Windows, right, if it wants to talk with Linux, so they are layer which is created WSL. Okay, very quickly. So if I show you the diagram. So you can see it is a Windows subsystem for Linux, right? So basically, in short, I'm like, I don't know if they have a diagram or not, but something like this, right? I mean, like if you want to go and talk to, see, one way you have a hypervisor down, the Hyper-V down, right? Now, one way is that you can go through the Windows mode, but this is something MiniKube is not liking it. MiniKube wants to go through the Linux mode. Why? Because that's what it wants. So that's where WSL comes into picture, right? So WSL is something like this. So you have a Linux, so you have a Windows kernel out here, and you want to talk with a Linux subsystem. This is that layer WSL. So WSL was needed here. Why? Because MiniKube wanted like Linux subsystem, right? It was not ready to work on the Windows Docker. So that is WSL. It's nothing but it's a network interface between the Linux thing. If my WSL was working right, when I typed WSL, I would have gone into the Linux box. So it is like Linux is installed and Windows can access the Linux thing, right? But that did not work out. Okay. So guys, let us go to questions out here. Let me not try to jump like a monkey. It's not working. Yeah. Right. So, right. No, my RDP was right, Ravindra. I have only one machine out there, so my RDP was right. I don't have any other machine. I don't have any other resource group. It's only one machine I have. The mistake was this one. This was the mistake. And I don't know, guys, they have this documentation. You know what, like actually, when I was creating the VM, when I was going and creating the VM, one of the things, it would have been great if they have given, like, because it's too much tough to figure out, right? Like, go and start reading where it is what, right? I just saw that feedback also in Stack Overflow. When I go and see these images out here, there is a filter also here. I mean, like, what stops them? So what I was thinking is, yeah. Over here, they have so many filters here. Generation and this. I mean, one filter, they could have put it for virtualization. That's it. They don't have that filter here. So now what happens is what we only come to know when we create the image, right? When we run that, we come to know it is enabled or not for virtualization. So from documentation, something is not clear. And you know what, here also, they never talk about, let me see, do we have any, these are some of the fields. We have made a mistake in choosing the VM. I'm sure on that. Okay, what happened? So here I was also seeing if we have a, I don't think we'll have a column like that. I'm too much. This is the type, this is this, right? Can't, oh, they don't have anything. I was just thinking that if we have a column here, something like that. And also this series, what they said, if you look at this text out here, I don't see anything about virtualization. So sad, you know, I don't know what is wrong in the documentation, what is wrong here. Hang on, I just wanted to check something. There is no column. There is no column called as virtualization. Chalo, good. Not an issue. Okay, let us check. Right. Which processor are you using for this machine? So the processor, what I have used is you can just say sorry. Okay, but I hope everybody has got idea what we are trying to do, right? It's Intel. Now this machine was not enabled with virtualization. That was the problem. Okay, but I'll check, guys. I'll check. Must be it is the wrong machine actually. Let me go back to doubts out here. Let us clear the doubts and then we'll close. What is the purpose of MiniKube? My God, you're asking me what is Ramayana all about? So Kamlesh, see MiniKube, what it does is we are trying to learn Kubernetes. Okay, in case people who have lost touch. So in Kubernetes, what Kubernetes does, it creates cluster of Dockers. In short, I'm just trying to say. So for cluster of Docker, so MiniKube, you know, you can use this small software MiniKube and you can learn. Like, you know, if you want to create a cluster by using kubectl, please see the first video. Then you have to go and fire kubectl, do this, kubectl, do that, right? But by using MiniKube, it's a small, it's like saying that, okay, how can you learn SQL? Like you can just install SQL Express, small one, right? Like must be, you can't do projects on that. SQL Express works well, but I'm saying like a demo, right? To learn Kubernetes, right? So guys, we'll not do any more MiniKube. I hope at least everybody has got an idea. Tomorrow, what we'll do UX, right? In UX, what I'll do is I'll create the cluster on Azure. I will put this image into the ACR and I will drag and drop that, right? And then we'll put it into UX and we'll see how it works, right? I set it to default version 2. Manish had done that. That will not solve the problem. That I can do later on also, but my Linux subsystem only did not install. When I was saying na WSL install Ubuntu, it was giving error. I downloaded the exe, I unzipped the RAR file, I said run the exe, that also did not work, right? So this is where it was stuck. But fine, guys, at least I hope that everybody has got an idea that not to learn from MiniKube, right? But try to do it if possible. Try to do it. It's an interesting R&D. Why, you know? Because by this, you know, you'll come to know that, you know, installing Docker, what does it do? What is WSL? What is, you know, what is happening at the back with hypervisor, right? At least those things would be clear, right? And specifically when you're going on cloud, these things will come into picture. That have you checked into nested virtualization? So I would say that please try to see that thing, you know. So tomorrow, guys, thank you very much. Tomorrow we'll connect for UX. Thank you very much.